Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Carlton People. We actually haven't done one in a little while now since the season ended, so getting them back on track. I've got special guests, as they all are, but I've got Mo with me today. What's up, man?
Oh man, what's happening? How you been?
I've been good. I think after the trade period that just ended, I've finally moved on from the season, but I think we've got a lot to unpack, man.
Whew, I don't know where to start, man. That's a big one, but yeah, thanks for having me. And it's an absolute honor to be on the Blue Broad channel and to formally sit down and have a chat. So, my man.
No, I appreciate it, man. Let's start the right way, and then we can get into all the themes and issues coming out of the club. Why don't we start with you and introducing you to the community, I guess, and maybe just telling us, like, how did you become a supporter? What's your story?
That's a good question. I would say for me, Terry, I was born into the Blue Army, so I didn't have much of a choice. I'm one of 8 siblings, yeah, and
Wow.
I'm somewhere along the bottom, Terry. So my old man, when I was younger, kind of that's the team he settled in on. He came to Australia in like 1981. So that was pretty early. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the migration journeys of African Australians, and that was kind of a really early time for any African Australian to kind of to be here. The
Tell me more.
Europeans.
Where do you come from? Like, whereabouts? Yeah, I'd love to know more.
So Somalia, East Africa, especially for East Africa, because the civil war didn't kick off in East Africa until like in late 80s and early 90s. So he was a bit of an early bird, I would say. So he came over here, and yeah, just found a home here, and really took a liking to Australia and so settled here. So good on him. I always tell him that's the best decision he made, and he chose a bloody good country. So yeah, so my mum was in the States at the time. She was studying in the US at the time. So she was trying to bat for the States at that time. So it could have been either way. And like I said, it's the best decision he's ever made. I was convincing her to come across here. So in 81. So
Wow. So football and Carlton was a way of kind of like
connection.
assimilating into the culture?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I reckon it brought two things. It brought the family together as a unit for the time. Yeah, obviously mum and dad were together, and it was a big feature for those early years, especially. So that 0 to 7 years, that's when the kind of the footballing was imprinted. My older brothers, I've got 3 older brothers, all go for the Baggers as well. Yeah, so it was just I didn't have much say so. It just to kind of it was what it was.
Wow.
I had a second team, believe it or not, at that time, and if it wasn't the Blues, it probably would have been someone like the Hawks, I reckon, at that time. Even hate me for saying that right now, but it's I don't talk about that. But it was that's what it was for me. But
Yeah,
definitely the better.
So what's your like earliest memory? Like, were you going to the footy? Was it like watching it together?
Yeah,
Like, how far back does your memory go?
Yeah, it goes back to Optus Oval, so the Optus Oval days. So back then, the Optus Oval, Icon Park now as we know it, which many years later I was working out of when I was at the YMCA. We rented the offices, one of the corporate offices there. But Icon Park was back then it was Optus Oval. We used to go games as a family. It was our way of bonding, our way of connection. I remember the 99, I was 7. The 99 grand final was probably one of the last memories I had as a whole family, as all of us together, mum and dad in the house and whatnot, before the split. But that was a big time as well. I remember that grand final like it was yesterday. I remember the prelim as well. I remember the prelim better than I do the grand final though.
Wow.
So that prelim, I remember at 7 years old, and I'm probably at that point I'm the age of 1 year younger than my youngest son now. So Abdullah's age kind of was thereabouts, and I remember that we weren't meant to be there, and All of us watching in the living room. We lived in Brunswick in a 4-bedroom home there, and just all of us, and we had our cousins over, and all of us kind of watching, plugging in, tuning into it. It wasn't the result we wanted at that time, but it was a good memory, one of the core memories as a family unit. So that's kind of how I became a fan. So born in Carlton, another thing I'd say is it was another point as well. So I was born in Carlton, so I often tell people I was born into it with family, and then also I was at Royal Women's Hospital there. So
Yeah. So like when you reflect now, I mean, you just said you got your son as well, who was a similar age to you, and when you saw the prelim, what's it like thinking about being his age, watching footy with the family, and now watching the footy with? I'm assuming he's a Carlton supporter as well, or
they don't have a choice. It's a Carlton supporter or on your own. So that's what I told him. So I told him, my youngest is a bit cheeky, so he goes for everyone that opposite to his dad. Like the ones that try to stick it to you a little bit. He's at that age now. Yeah, I'm a Gunners fan in EPL. He's cheering for City, and he tries to have jabs at me like that, but he doesn't mean it. He's tongue in cheek. He's a bit of a cheeky one, but they're all Carlton fans. So I take them to the games with me as much as I can, and when I'm watching it, they see it as well. Sometimes I've got to tone it down a little bit, but they see the passion and they love it as well. So they take it to probably not as much of fans as I was at their age, Terry. And that's because I don't know what it is. I just think it was my brother. I think it was a family. Growing up at that time, sports was so big. Now there's a lot of other things that they juggle and passions. And my kids are anime fans and stuff like that, and they like sports. They love playing sports, but I think and they love video games. So they're the two that they kind of absolutely love at the moment. They had the love for Carlton and love for the game of footy and appreciation for the sports is growing. I'll say that's where they're at. They're at the they probably weren't at the emotionally as invested as I was in '99 in that journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would help if we were playing in prelims and grannies and
that's probably what it is. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like last year was fun. That was the funnest that we've seen. I mean, you and I are a similar age, and before last year, it was hard to really talk about great memories because I mean, what did we have? We had a little bit of a rise in 2011, 12, 9, and then last year. So it's been tough, but it's I think it's been character building.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it. But I think we had it the hardest. Yeah, I think for sure. There's no doubt. Our generation, Terry, like I think we're too young for '95. I was not old enough for '95. I was 3 at that time, and '99. Like I told you, I've got that. I remember the prelim more than I do the final. You know what I mean? To be a grand final, and that says something about where memory was at that time. And how young we were. Since then, we haven't had it. That's the reality, and I think that's the upside for me and my kids now is that they haven't had to go through. I think a lot of that the big losses that we've had. But even I don't know about you, Terry, but even in the midst of those losses and those hard years, there's moments that for me stand like what I mean that I hold dearly. And there's players and then there was teams that I actually really, really loved watching during those times. Like, I don't know, like the Houlihan's and, the Scotlands. These players for me were, they made it easier during those tough times as well. And the Lappins and there was a lot, some really good moments in over these the Febs. We had some good moments even with that turmoil.
What have you got in your mind as some of your favorite moments? I mean, there's obviously the favorites with like the finals wins and whatnot, but have you got, I don't know, random games or days at the footy that stand out more than others?
Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
the boundary line.
Oh
Brendan
wow.
from Poland. When we came back from, I don't know, I can't remember how much it was, Adelaide Oval. They get, they're random moments, yeah. And there were so many of those type of random moments, like in, um, Icon Park, the Optus Oval, our last game of Optus Oval, I think it was against the Eagles. We were there. Was it the Eagles? I think.
I think the last game was against Melbourne at
It
Princess Park.
was thereabouts anyway. I think we played the Eagles one time, and Walker took a banger, I think, against the Eagles, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. That was his. Was that like his debut? That was like early 2000s.
Or was it his early 2000s? And you see, they're the random games that, for me, that stand out, And it was interesting times as well. Optus Oval, I loved till today. Like that place there gives me goosebumps. I worked out of there because I'm a youth worker by trade, Terry, and I worked for the YMCA many years ago at their youth services, which relocated to Icon Park, and I used to see Sauce Senior and all of them in the coffee shops and whatnot, and I was a bit starstruck, at that time. So I'm like, and you imagine trying to work, you're on your screen, yeah, and they're training you. This is when they got Levi Casbolt and them boys were going. And you imagine trying to focus on your screen, and the boys have got their training around the week before the comp, or during the comp or the comp side, and you're just glancing over, and you're not really allowed to say too much. You're not allowed to approach them because of it's a professional setting, and there's a bit of a agreement in place. So you're like, oh my god, that's Sauce. Oh my god, that's that's yeah, and you're like, oh, that's Juddy. Oh, that's Cripper. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? I'm tripping out. So, it's been. Look, I think nothing beats it, man. I'm a blue bag at heart, and I love this team. But yeah, there's not much I'll do for. I wouldn't do for this team, and yeah.
I'd love to hear it, man. So you said you're youth worker. I've seen your stuff on Instagram, Mo Social Impact. We'll have a little link in the description so people can check it out.
Yeah, good.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and your work and the impact you're looking to have.
Yeah, I think it's in the name there, Mo Social Impact. So everything I do, Terry, is around community. So. You name it, during my day job, I've got the privilege of leading a portfolio in education. So working in central office, we used to be based at Treasury. Now we're down the road, but it's a pretty significant portfolio for our African heritage students and supporting them across the state of Victoria. So I've got the privilege of leading a good piece of work there that supports them, but not just my professional roles. I also do a whole heap of body work outside of my day job for myself, and I'm actually in the process of launching a not-for-profit organisation called Think Village, which is going to be, focusing at bridging the gap between policy and the people, and not only bridging the gap between policy and people, but supporting young people that are at risk of becoming engaged in the justice system or are engaged in the justice system to reconnect with their families, education, employers, and their families as well. And before it's too late, before they enter a space. And it's just the current landscape is right now, if a young person enters the justice system, the probability of them being stuck in it is very high.
Yeah.
And that's something that's a very big passion area of mine. And so I don't just focus on justice system, but this organisation and this particular focus for this organisation is going to be around the disengaged cohort, because I think, there's people doing bits and pieces, but it just feels if it's not being done well. And as someone who's kind of, has my own story and my own journey, Terry, that involves a similar experience to what a lot of these young people are going through, and coming out on the other side, strengthened, more aware, and a better person for that, turning a negative experience into a positive one, and really, decommitting your life to preventing people from entering, and then also supporting people from once they've entered to transition away from a life that doesn't get you anywhere, that hurts a lot of people, people that a lot of these young people know, and that are most dearest to them, and then also strangers, and it's So I think village is that solution. Is what I'm kind of saying is going to be that is going to be part of that solution. It won't be the sole solution, but that's what we're going to aim to do. It's a bit of a bold aim, but it's one that we're going to commit to. Commit to the process.
Wow. Well, that's so cool. Well, firstly, thanks for sharing. I think being proactive is so important, and I think the reality is, for someone like yourself who can reflect on the path that could have been and the path that now is, I think your message holds so much more, weight, so much more gravity to a young person coming through, and you'll have a better idea as to the signs to look out for and things that they can be implementing in their lives. And I mean, this is the thing. This is the the big debate. It's like, how much do you focus on punishment? How much do you focus on rehabilitation? Our system says that we have a few different elements to sentencing, but you're right. when you're a young kid and you sort of get into the system, once you go down that rabbit hole, it's really hard to come back out the top. So good on you, man. Good on you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Nah, thanks. It's a journey. Look, it's a big part. It's a fulfilling career path, and it's one that, you're right. Once a young person's in, it's very difficult. And rehabilitation, when you look at rehabilitation versus punitive, you got to think about it from this perspective. Eventually, these young people, even with the punitive measures, are going to come out as adults. Eventually, they're going to need to. They're going to come out. So it's in our best interest that when they do come out, do they come out as boys in a man's body, or do they come out as men, with fully formed and fully informed minds, and that's kind of my body of work, and where my focus has been, and now where my focus is going over the next little while. And I'm sure there's going to be opportunities for these types of conversations over the next couple of years. But
yeah, man. How do you think? Do you see a pathway where football can help this? Because I mean, what I've noticed with the league in the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years, we'll call it, maybe more. But there has been, and I mean, more specifically, like the Carlton Football Club, we focus on sport and winning premierships, but there is a focus on community, and there is a focus on, spreading positive messages, and there is a focus on educating people on certain topics and issues. So from your point of view and the work that you do, like, what's the link that where you think football and Carlton and whatnot can help?
Yeah, look, I think sports in general, plays a big part, Terry. So you got to look at a lot of our young people. They play sports. They're passionate about sports at a young age. A lot of it, there's a commonality. You go through the experience of a young person, and at some point they just drop off. Yeah, so they drop off from school. They drop off from sports. There's a disconnection and a detachment from those type of connections that mean so much. That I always tell people, there's a reason why my kids do jiu-jitsu, they play sport. There's a reason why I keep them so busy, and there's a reason, because I understand that where there's disconnection from extracurricular activities, the likelihood of a young person gets given too much time, that they fill that time with not all young people again, Terry. So there's a lot of people that their idle time, they use it a lot more pro-socially, but the chances are, especially for our young men, and this is where the point is as well, the focus on the young men, because it affects them a lot more, that once they become disconnected, that it leaves them a bit more vulnerable. So the role that sports plays, and I think even the Blue Army, why the Blue Army over the other teams? And I'll tell you why. Not because I'm a Carlton supporter, yeah, because we have a rich history, and we have a colourful history as well. So where Carlton's located has a colourful history. Do you know what I mean? And that there's a level of character when it comes to the Blue Baggers, and the Blue Baggers has always been a home to those that the rest of the league probably didn't want, and our army is very diverse and very multicultural. And that's what makes us, I think that's another reason why I became a Carlton supporter, was you go to those games and, you got your Italian brethren here, you got you know what I mean, you got your Greeks, you got your Lebos, you got all the mixes, and we all grew up together. And we all grew up together, right? So, and that was our kind of coming together, it was this football club and this team. So I think that's what sports can do. That's the role of sports. It can bring, people together, and not only the divided, they can also the disconnected, and you have an amazing platform. I'll give you an example. Yeah, Terry, you have a beautiful platform, and I commend you for establishing this. But you now have a responsibility. So with that, and sorry, I'm not handing you putting pressure on you now.
It's true.
But it's now, what do we do with this community? What do we do with it, and how can we mobilize this community? And how can we utilize it and really enact change? And then really give back to the community as a whole. And that if everybody kind of had that mindset, that's the solution, and that's the way forward, and that's the role of sports. It's unifying, reconnecting those that have fallen off a little bit, and giving them that this extending of the hand and bringing them up and saying, we're together. We're in this together.
Yeah. One thing I didn't predict or plan for when it came to this was we get people from all walks of life, socio-economic, whether they're in Australia, out of Australia, but what I've learned is that there's just this, we're all looking for, we're tribal humans, and we're looking for someone or a group of people that we can connect with similar interests. And I'm blown away that there's so many people who haven't really seen each other face to face, because it's a digital platform, and you have unless you're on camera right now, you have a username, and that's okay, because sometimes people want to connect with people without fully connecting face to face, or maybe it's a step before that. And I'm just so shocked and blown away with how many people from different walks of life connect here and sit in a live stream, or even if they call in on the fan cams, or if they just watch without commenting, or if they watch while commenting live. It's just this, I don't know, this virtual community hub place. I think it does say something about people and what we're looking for in life,
Yeah, 100%. And it's not, you've got a great community, and I'll tell you how this, too. You've got a great community where even in turmoil, when we're disconnecting from the club, we need a break from the club, we're tuning into your channel. There's some weeks, Terry, that I'm like, I don't want the Collingwood game. The Collingwood game, that loss where what's his name, Mitch, when he got concussed or had the head knock and had to line up after the siren, I just didn't want to talk footy for a week. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, not even the 2022 loss. I'm talking about this year's loss. That's the 1 point loss that we had. I didn't want to talk footy, but I was like, my ritual is tuning into the fan cams post game. I love hearing everyone vent. And I love just, that's kind of my therapy. My therapy, just hearing it and whatnot. I haven't called in much, but I'm a big listener. I'm a big it's a ritual. You know what I mean? It's tuning in after the game onto your channel, and pre-game when I'm buzzing on a big week, I'll tune into your channel again. That's how you've got a community. By the way, it's that. Yeah. It's when they're pissed off, they're plugging in. When they're happy or elated, they're plugging in. So it's something special, brother. something really, really special.
Thank you, man. It is special. It's definitely not something I take for granted, and it's definitely something that I hold with a big level of responsibility. Because I think there's so many platforms that grow and audiences that grow, and I think what gets missed is whenever you have influence and power and attention. If you shirk the responsibility, the downfall comes really quickly. So
Can I
speaking,
commend you something? Sorry to cut you off. I was in Brisbane post game. Yeah, so we flew down to Brisbane for the elimination final, right?
yeah,
So we're in Brisbane after the loss. We're in the Airbnb. I've got my cousin and a mate of mine are with me, and we're watching the channel. And there's a caller that calls in and kind of starts saying, gut this team, gut it, this is not good enough. I was saying all ridiculous stuff. The calls were, I don't know, what I thought to be outrageous. This is fresh off after the game. And we're sitting there and I'm like, I couldn't do what Terry is doing. Why? Because the way I would have, and I'm telling you, this bloke is probably the same bloke in the group of them that 8 weeks ago we were talking about flags, talking about top four. And I'm like, how in the same year can we go from that to gut this team? That's quite extreme. You know what I'm coming from? I'm like, as Blue fans, sometimes we're a bit extreme, but your patience on that day, I'm like sitting there because again, one of those moments when you're gutted. Yeah, it was, and there's nothing worse than being gutted than being on foreign ground, right? And being on the opposition's territory, and that's how we felt. Many of us felt in Brisbane when we went down to Brisbane. So, that was well done, commendable for you, by the way, and the way you handled that. But
it's a balance. I mean, I think, for me, I'm not an expert. I'm a student of the game, and I think what a lot of people, especially Carlton fans, because we're so passionate, someone's got to listen, and I think listening is important in this day and age. In a day and age where a lot of people want to be the voice or be the authority or be the expert, which is also fine because there's space for that. I think it's important that someone just listens or just helps facilitate the chat. I learn a lot from listening to the different opinions. And sometimes I hear things and I'm like, oh, I know you're just emotional and I know you don't mean that. But it's part of the process.
You're not thinking right now. That's what you're saying to me. You're like, mate, take a moment, call back tomorrow. call back tomorrow. But that's what I'm saying. You got to be patient. You know what it is? You don't even know, but you're kind of you're a lot of people's therapist. You should look into getting some counselling qualifications. I tell you.
I might. I might.
Because you're doing it informally, brother. You're doing that work anyway. So it's very important, but it's very, very important.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So let's talk about the club and the team. I mean, from your point of view, where's the group at? It's been a journey. I know it's been 30 years since the flag, but I think more importantly, this group. So, 10 years, we'll call it 9-10 years. How are you feeling as a supporter as to where we're going and what we're doing?
Look, we have the best team that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In my time. The best list that I've ever seen in my time. Terry, we have the best player in the league.
Yeah.
And the only other time we had the best player in the league was the Juddy era. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't have much around him. That's the honest truth. As much as I love that team, we got the best player in the league. I reckon we have the best defender in the league. And I reckon we have the best forward in the league. You look at that, we don't have time to mess this up. That's my honest take. So we have a good enough list. We have the pieces. We have, not only those three, we have enough core pieces around them. But we're missing, I think, one or two, a little bit more senior, a little bit more. That's why I don't dislike the Haynes pickup, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't dislike that. You know, I don't. A lot of people are saying he's washed up, couldn't get a game for GWS. There's a reason why I couldn't get a game for GWS. They've got options. We don't have that.
That's true.
You know,
especially at his age and his experience.
That's what I'm saying. So it's we need something a little bit different. So my answer to you is I think we have enough pieces. I do think we need a little bit more run. I think that we'll see. Wait and see. Like I was telling you, I was a bit before the call as well. I'd be skeptical about the top 3 pick and whatnot. But I like the point you made around that top 5, 1 to 5 is going to be ready to slot in. That's what I hope happens, and I hope that we don't mess up and or we pick up O'Sullivan and he's injured and he's not right, or we make the wrong call here. You know what I mean? Based on family ties, whatever it is. I just think make the best call for what's available and who's ready to go now. Don't make a call for the best potential for a 5 to 6 period, a 7-year period. Who's going to give us the best bang for buck? No, they got to come in and we got to win now, because you need that cutthroat energy. Because if you don't win a premiership in Cripper, Kerno, and Wiedering's time, it's a big mess up, man. That's my take.
It'd be a massive waste if we don't see this group. I mean, I totally agree with what you said about, like, this is the best team you've seen. I mean, like I said earlier, we're a very similar age. This is like head and shoulders the best list I've seen.
I've never been able to say. Look, I think I used to still say this player is better than me. I was that stubborn Carlton fan. Yeah, I was that guy. I'm diabolical, by the way. Yeah? I'm that guy that watches a game. I was in Brisbane watching there, saying, "Yo, we're down 60 points here. If we get 3 goals, we're cutting it back." That's the support I am, Terry. I kid you not. I'm sitting there, I'm doing math in my head. And in that third quarter, we're up and running, yeah? We're up and running too. And I'm that guy. I'm going up and about, yeah, come on. These guys behind me are fuming. They're like, oh, how the fuck is this guy still talking? You know, how is this guy still got a pulse? And I'm just like, I had a 3-minute, I lost my voice. I came back, I had a voice in Brisbane. Wow. This was that 4-minute stretch. It was that 4-minute stretch in the third that I actually started to believe that, hey, we actually might come back here. Yeah, we brought it within 30-something points. We could have snatched a couple goals there, but we didn't end up doing it. But that's the type of support I am. So I believe, like, I'm that Rocky by Balboa, never give up attitude.
I feel you, man. Man, when Harry Mackay kicked that goal, I thought we were on. I really did.
Voice, Terry, I lost it. I was like, and I was celebrating. You know, when you celebrate, you're celebrating to your mates here, but then you kind of talking to someone behind you, but you don't want to be antisocial in this area. And I'm not trying to start any problems, but I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to be an active fan. I'm trying to inject some juice into these boys, you know, and. But I believed for that moment, I reckon. I believed. So that's the type of fans we are. You know? So I think we have a chance, man. I think we have a chance at a premiership here. Our window is wide open. If that Melbourne win 2 years ago, that doesn't tell you everything you need to know. Our list is good enough.
Yeah,
we should have beaten Brisbane the first time round at the Gabba in the prelim. But we ran out of legs. Why we lost to them? We ran out of legs. We had a 2.5 month run that we couldn't drop games. It's like you can't win like that. You know, you see it in the NBA, the Lakers, when they got to Western Conference Finals. It's the same thing. They got cleaned up because why? They ran out of legs. Yeah. They had to, that season they made the Western Conference Finals. We were fighting tooth and nail every game to even get there, you know, to make the playoff. And then same thing, we had a horrendous start to the year. But that was the year that I saw this team. I'm like, yeah, this is head and shoulders the best list. Not only list, they're ready. So what the club needs to do now, and they're doing it now, you know, they're bringing in pieces. They're bringing in personnel change, you know, and decision-making change, strength and conditioning. I don't know how we lost all those players to injury, Terry. That's one thing that I can't understand.
Man. Yeah.
Side note, I talk a lot, by the way. If you didn't know that, now you do. Yeah. I'll tell you this. We got a guy named Robinus, head of strength and conditioning. Fun fact, my high school teacher, PE teacher. Yeah.
Wow. That is a fun fact.
That's a fun fact. So shout out to Robinus. You know, it's why if he's going to check this out, he was my high school teacher at Brunswick Secondary back in those days.
A wacky fun fact. That's one of the funnest facts I think I've heard.
I couldn't believe, you scroll through your IG feed and you're like, what the hell, Robin? I know that face. He's like on Carlton's post. I'm like, this is a familiar face. I know that guy. I jump on his LinkedIn and I say, it is him. You know, you go on his LinkedIn, you see Brunswick Secondary College there. So that's a fun fact. That's for you.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you one more question before we wrap up, and it's the same question that everyone gets at the end of the show, and that is, can you give us the year in which the boys lift up the next premiership? Which year is it going to be?
I'll say this. I believe, if not this coming year, I will bank on the year after.
So we're in the window heavy.
It's wide open, Terry. It's wide open. What will hurt us? I'll give you this answer too, and take this one. It's decisions we make has to be for now. Yeah. That's what's going to hurt us. It's the quality of decisions that we make and the urgency in which we make those decisions is going to be the game changer for us. Yeah, and that's going to be a game breaker for us and deal breaker. So I believe in these boys, and I believe I'm not one of them anti-Voss people. You know, I'm not. I think all you need when you have a list this good, you need motivators of men. Yeah, and that's what you need. Because technical people, or you can bring all them. You can surround someone around that. You know, the right assistants, the right people around them. Technical folk. You need a great motivator, man. And I think Vossi is that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think Vossi is a good motivator of men, and I think he commands respect, and the relationship him and Cripper have. You watch the Brownlow, you watch that Brownlow, right? It's different for Vossi, and you break that. That's another poor decision. So that's the stuff that can hurt us. So it's external stuff of the thing, decisions externally with our coach, with our team around him, decisions with the picks. Is it for now or is it for 7 years? That's the only answer. So the answer is the boys are good enough. We've got enough pieces. We're a few decisions away.
Wow.
That's my take.
I love it, mate. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for making some time.
Yeah, now likewise, brother. Anytime, man. It's really good seeing you as well. So we'll have a proper catch up as well. All right.
Sounds good, man. You take care. Thanks for sharing about the work that you do. We'll put some links in the description for people to check out your work. And just let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
Go the Blue Army.
Go, mate.
Blue Broad Army. Take care, my man.